while since I've been in my throne, honestly feeling a little bit powerful right now. Today is a great occasion because I am finally tackling a topic that has been really widely requested for a really long time on my channel.
Furry, just furry community.
Furries.
Oh, furries.
Furries.
I think most of them are trolling.
You never actually came out and said, I'm a furry.
Hello.
Furries are simultaneously one of the most well-known sexual subcultures as well as one of the most misunderstood, including by me. When I first learned about furries maybe 10 years ago, I thought it was about having sex with animals or like, you know, something not okay. I have since been educated. I have also seen some things. Before I really dive in, a reminder to keep an open mind, to be respectful in the comments. Everyone's gonna be horrible. So let's start at the top. What is a furry? In pop culture, furries are known as those people who wear the big mascot outfits, who go to conventions and meet up with each other and maybe have sex in their fursuit. Reality is a little broader, also a little more complicated. A furry broadly, generally refers to anybody who has some sort of fascination with anthropomorphic animals. Anthropomorphic animals, you know, the ones that we all grew up watching on TV and Disney. Crystal from Star Fox, Lucario on Pokemon, Mufasa, Scar, the fox in Robin Hood, Roxanne from a Goofy movie. Definitely made me question my sexuality. So the furry community, as it's been described to me, is firstly and foremostly a fandom around these kinds of characters. And participation in the furry fandom sometimes involves the creation of a persona, you know, like a furry character. There's a really strong art component, it's very expressive. My limited experience is that the furry community is very open, very inclusive, very accepting, just, you know, normal people who happen to have this shared interest. And for some in the community, not all, some, it's a sexual fetish. 37% to be exact. And honestly, to some degree, I get it, but to a slightly larger degree, it confuses me. I mean, what specifically is the appeal? Why? Who are furries? Turns out there's a lot, actually a surprising amount of research about furries. I spent the last week reading a 175-page document, which I'll link below if you're interested. Furries are mostly young, they're mostly white, they're mostly male, about a quarter are female, mostly college educated, mostly liberal, and much more likely to be LGBT. Furries are also 50% more likely than the general population to have been bullied. I don't really know why that is exactly, but there's no doubt that there's a lot of hostility and discomfort out there about furries. Maybe you feel a little bit uncomfortable or weird about furries, and that's okay. I would urge you to just sort of be present and aware of that feeling. So about a year ago, I met another YouTuber, Adam, otherwise known as Your Movie Sucks. You may know of him. His channel's amazing if you like movies. He does awesome movie reviews. And he was very open with me from the beginning about being a furry. And I've learned a lot from him and from hanging out with him and his friends. Adam was kind enough to sit down with me. Roll tape.
For some odd reason, something in my brain decided that I am more comfortable identifying as an animal, you know, in my case, a horse. And although I understand the absurdity, although I'm self-aware and I understand it's fiction, you know, it's fantasy, it's not anything real, it's a part of my life where I could not get rid of it if I tried, and I have tried, and it was unsuccessful. And yeah, you know, there's other furries where it's just like, oh, it's, you know, I'm just a part of a fandom and I can quit at any time sort of thing. But for me, it's like, it's something that I can't get rid of in my life.
Okay.
And at this point, I've, you know, more or less accepted myself. There is a sexual aspect to it too, obviously. But what I would say to that is that the sexual aspect is kind of like a byproduct of the identity aspect. When you're looking at something like the furry fandom and the amount of people that closely identify to half human, half animal things, sexuality is going to be closely tied to your identity.
Yeah,
you know?
Because sexuality is tied to most people's identity in complex ways. That makes sense.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you what it is that made you identify with a horse?
When it comes down to people choosing their personas, the best way I can think about it is human beings create these psychological associations with specific animals. Like we define attributes, like we say pigs are smelly and gross, even though they may not be. You know, we say like foxes are mischievous. We say like, you know, tigers are like fierce and cunning sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so someone is going to more closely relate to an animal that they've given those sort of characteristics that they feel are close to themselves. People think I chose a horse because it's got like a big dick or something, but really it's not. They're very timid-ish, majestic, you know, they have some strength to them, but they're not complete assholes. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're animals that are there to help in a way.
Uh-huh. They're companionate animals.
Yeah. That would be what I would describe it as.
How did you figure this out about yourself?
Well, like most furries, it started on the internet.
Yeah.
I think I was 15 or something. There was this web series I really liked called Red vs. Blue, and I hung out on the forums for Rooster Teeth. I just saw someone's profile picture. I guess it was like a bunny in a bikini, like with an American flag and like a gun. It was kind of funny. Uh-huh. And immediately I look at that and I'm like interested, you know, not even sexually, but just like, wow, this is, you know, I really like what I'm seeing here. Then I dig deeper and realize that I am sexually attracted to it. Before that point, I did not even know what it meant to like be attracted to something. Like, because this is something that does not even exist. However many months I realized I was only looking at the dicks in the picture, and I was like, wait, I'm actually gay too. So I found out I was a furry before I found out I was gay, which is kind of interesting.
But you're not, and furries generally are not interested in actual animals.
Most aren't. That is frowned upon in the community, not tolerated.
So what would you say are some of the biggest misunderstandings about the furry fandom?
A lot of people, when they look at something as innocent as like, you know, furries decided to fursuit in public and they're, you know, people are in their costumes and they're going out and like, you know, some kid wants to like take a picture and they give him a hug. Immediately there's people whose first responses are like, ew, they just touched a kid in that costume that they probably have like cum stains on. When in reality it's like, okay, first of all, like, the people that have the really expensive fursuits, they're probably not fucking in them. And it's not to say that no furries have sex in their suits, but you can't just immediately assume that because someone's dressing up in a furry costume that A, it's for like sexual gratification, or that B, they've had sex in the suit.
What else? What are some other misunderstandings?
One of the misunderstandings that people have is that, you know, every furry is like this fat, unemployed computer technician living with their mom sort of thing. The only thing that defines the community is just one shared interest. All these people who would, you know, normally not be brought together, you know, in any other circumstances are, you know, part of a big family.
There's such this tremendous stigma over the community. Is it like the weird confusion about animal sex? Is it just being different? Is it the dress up? I can't quite put my finger on it.
Well, I mean, at its core, it's something that people don't understand, that people have very little information about, and the only information that they get, again, is just that every time something negative happens, that's when it blows up either on the internet or in the news.
It sounds like maybe the stigma is what brings people together, in some sense, when they discover this. What's your experience been like with it, and how has it affected you?
You know, growing up, the first thing I know is like, okay, well, this is me, and it's also not what I want to be in my life. You know, this is what society is saying that I shouldn't be. And, you know, that turned into me literally deciding to repress it. I was like, I'm not going to look at any more, like, furry artwork. I'm not going to talk to anybody in the community. And I, like, hid myself from it for, like, a year and a half. I learned from that experience that repression is not a good thing. I became very depressed. I lost a lot of weight. I became addicted to hard drugs for a while, and you know, eventually I decided, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna own it. You know, like I'm gonna be this person, and step one is, telling my closest friends.
By the end of our conversation, I really felt like I had gained a deeper understanding of furry identity, particularly related to sexuality. And I've always felt like human sexuality is just so messy and complicated and weird at times. And I don't fully understand it, but that's actually kind of what draws me to it. Why do we form the preferences and kinks and fetishes that we do? At the end of the day, if something sexually isn't hurting anyone, it's consensual, who cares? That's kind of the premise that I operate on. I would say my biggest takeaway from these conversations is that there are a lot of reasons why people are drawn to the furry fandom. I think certainly for a lot of young adults, especially queer young adults, there is an element of alienation, and definitely, the research shows this too, a strong need to belong somewhere, to feel belonging, to be a part of a group that loves and accepts you for who you are. And that's one of the most beautiful things about the fandom, just on the outside of it. But it's also about the art and the aesthetic and the entertainment and the escapism and some elements of sexuality. It's a lot of things. I love you guys. I hope this was interesting. Certainly was for me. I will see you next time. Mwah.
Was there anything else that we didn't touch on that you think are important?
Oh, here's a question. Would you ever come to a furry convention with me?